friends, my name is Katie. In this video, I'm going to show you the real path from zero to fluent. It's going to be like a GPS that gets you to fluency without wasting your time and getting lost. The first thing you need is to stay far away from all the bad advice out there. The internet is full of nonsense. Videos promising you how to get fluent in 2 months, how to get fluent in 1 month, how to get fluent in 2 weeks. This is just not realistic. If you want true fluency, you need at least 6 months of consistent smart practice to go from zero to fluent. In this video, I'll break it all down for you step by step, how much time you should spend each day, and the best resources to help you build real, lasting fluency. So let's get straight into it. Let's start with this question. What does fluency actually mean? Fluency means you can understand others, plus you can express yourself clearly and comfortably without getting stuck. So what does it take to reach that point? It all starts with 2 things: words and grammar. Words are the building blocks. You need them to express your ideas. Grammar is the structure. It connects your words so your sentences flow naturally and make sense. Together, words and grammar are what let you speak confidently and comfortably and understand English just the way it's meant to be used. So first, let's start with words. The real question is, how many words do you actually need to become fluent? Let's break it down. With 1,000 words, you're at survival level. You can survive, but you're not fluent. You can say simple things like, the food is good, I'm happy. Your sentences are short, simple, and you repeat the same thing again and again. With 2,000 to 3,000 words, things get interesting. You can add details. For example, instead of just the food is good, you can say the food is delicious, especially the sauce. It tastes amazing. Or instead of just I'm happy, you can say I'm absolutely thrilled. At this stage, you can chat with friends about your day, your hobbies, your families. You can handle basic travel situations. You'll feel like you can communicate. But when conversations go deeper, you'll still get stuck. With 5,000 words, now you can handle almost any normal conversation. You don't just talk about your day, you share your opinions, tell stories, and even join group discussions. And podcasts, TV shows, and movies start making sense. Maybe not every single word, but enough to follow the story without subtitles. And your English begins to sound more natural because you have much more options. For example, instead of saying, I like it, you can say, I really enjoy it, or I'm into it, or it's fascinating. At this level, English stops being just like a tool for survival. It becomes part of you. And finally, 8,000 to 10,000 words. This is real fluency. At this stage, you can talk about anything, your opinions, your emotions, complex ideas, and you can go deep, talk and talk without getting stuck. You can watch the news, read books, follow debates, and jump into any conversation without translating, without thinking. And your English has variety and nuance. For example, instead of always saying I'm sad, you can say I'm disappointed, I'm heartbroken, I feel down. This is the level where you don't just use English, you actually live in English. Now, you don't need to sit there and count every single word you know. No, you shouldn't do that. Just see which category fits you. For example, if you can talk about your daily life, but struggle to share your opinions, explain your thoughts or go deeper in conversations, you're probably around 2,000 to 3,000 words. So you have to work on your next milestone. Now let me show you step-by-step roadmap for learning 8,000 to 10,000 words, starting from the first 1,000 words and building all the way up to 10,000 words. The good news is that the first 1,000 words cover about 50 to 55% of everyday spoken English. and you already know them. You already have them in your vocabulary. Yes, you already know 50 to 55% of everyday spoken English. How do I know? Well, because they include pronouns like I, you, he, him, her, myself, yourself. Basic verbs like go, be, have, do, take, make. Basic nouns like food, water, house, school, family. Basic adjectives like big, small, good, bad, happy, sad. Basic function words like the, with, for, but. So that's already a huge step toward fluency. You're practically halfway there. So to learn the first 3,000 words, you can use Oxford 3,000 words, a carefully chosen list of the most important words. And you can also use New General Service list, contains the 2,800 most frequent words in English. But you also need to see and hear these words in real situations. That's how your brain remembers them. So you can use Learn English with Jessica and English easy practice channels. The lessons focus on easy words and simple phrases, perfect for building your foundation. But as you do this exercise, do yourself a big favor. Whenever you come across a new useful word or a short phrase, write it down and review it often. That's how new words stick and become part of your fluency. All right, now learning up to 5,000 words, which I call it comfortable English. At this stage, your goal is to start using English comfortably in everyday life. Express your opinions, follow stories, and understand most media. Here's how you can do it. Watch BBC 6 Minute. These are perfect because they introduce real-life vocabulary in short, manageable chunks. Watch TED Talks. TED Talks are perfect. They expose you to much more advanced ideas and expressions, helping you expand your vocabulary naturally. Search in English for anything you want to learn. If you want to solve a problem, if you want to ask why, like wondering why the earth orbits the sun, don't Google it in your native language. Just search it in English. If you want a recipe for apple pie, search it in English. It forces you to read and process real English content and exposes you to some phrases and short sentence structures and trains your brain to think in English. Read in English. Choose short novels, short stories, or anything else that excites you. The more interesting, the better. But just make sure it's not too long because, it'll be too overwhelming. Now, before we work on our next milestone, I'm going to highlight this. At this stage, with 5,000 words, you can be completely fluent, even if you don't know every word yet. The trick is to find a way to express your ideas. You see, when things get tricky, and you find yourself getting stuck, just simplify things. Say it in an easier way. I actually go into this in detail in another video. I talked and explained about the whole strategy there. If you want to learn the step-by-step of it, you can check it out next. All right, learn up to 8,000 to 10,000 words. True fluency. At this stage, your goal is to speak naturally, understand almost anything, and express yourself with nuance. So you're moving from comfortable English to fluent and confident English. Here's how to get there. Watch advanced videos and podcasts like interviews, documentaries, podcasts. These are perfect. They expose you to advanced vocabulary and idioms and different accents. Read widely in English. You can read books, news, essay, blogs, anything that interests you. At this stage, you can move on to long novels like The Hunger Game, fiction books, non-fiction books, anything that you want. All right, we covered how to learn words and expose yourself to a variety of vocabulary. But as I mentioned earlier, we also need grammar to become fluent in English. Even if you know all the words, you need grammar to form correct sentences. Grammar is the glue that lets you connect words into meaningful sentences. For example, I tomorrow, store, go. You know the words, but it's not correct. Grammar gives you, I'll go to the store tomorrow. And here's more good news. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, even if you don't know all the 12 tenses out there, you already know 55 to 60% of the grammar because you already know the present simple. The present simple tense is the first tense you learn when you learn English. So definitely you know it. The present simple tense is used almost in half of everyday conversations. Around 55 to 60%. That's a lot. So it means you can handle a huge part of everyday conversations. Now here's something that will surprise you. We technically have 12 tenses, but do actually native speakers use all 12 every day? Not at all. Most of the time, people stick to just a handful. Present simple, past simple, future simple, and present continuous. Some of the others, like future continuous tense and future perfect tense, are so rare that native speakers almost never use them. They might show up in exams, in formal writing, but in everyday conversations, you won't hear them much. So here's the good news. You don't need all the 12 tenses to become fluent. Just focus on the core tenses that people actually use, and you'll already sound natural and confident. I actually do have a video on that. I'll put a link to that in the description box. All right, let's see how to learn grammar. You can use the infographic grammar book. It's perfect. It explains everything in a simple way, and it shows you the rules visually. So it's easier to understand and remember. But here's the key. Don't just study the rules in isolation. When you're doing exercises, whenever you listen to something like a video or podcast, or whenever you're reading something, pay attention to new words as well as sentence structures. Notice how grammar you studied actually appear in real life. That's how grammar stops being boring, confusing rules and starts becoming part of your English. So here's the real path. Build your vocabulary step by step, focus on the tenses people actually use, and practice every day with real content. And how much time should you spend each day? Aim for 1 to 2 focused hours, not just watching random videos, but practicing actively. If you stay consistent, you can make huge progress in just 6 months. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you like it. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.